Exclusively designed by Nixie Nax Arts, we bring you our second exclusive mat with the colossal Rainbow Neos taking on Red Eyes Dragoon, using both Dark Magician and Red Eyes alongside Elemental Hero Neos and of course Rainbow Dragon. Produced by Venom Battle Gear, this is an exclusive mat only available from their site. You can get this mat both with and without zones, and it can be shipped worldwide. What are you waiting for? Visit venombattlegear.co.uk to get your own exclusive Rainbow Neos versus Red Eyes Dragoon playmat.
So, after a good old shuffle and a decent cut, like I said, the reason that this is all over the place, sleeve-wise, is just because I haven't committed to the build yet. And this is purely for testing value purposes. So straight away we've seen, the opening hand's not bad. Like, having the scythe sucks. Like, this is one of the cards you don't really want to open up with, but it's not the end of the world if you do. Other than that, we've got a nice extender, we've got the tuner. So this is a combo that I've seen on Trish's channel, which I'm disappointed that he's just gone to the Kali Yuga side, because I thought it was very I can't even say it. Very clever of Triff with the tuner engine, and I'll show you the exact playthrough as we go from this. And then he's moved over to the Kali Yuga build, which I think is kind of like a cop-out in a sense that, like, although it's good, I just feel that it's very difficult. Anyway, so I'll show you the plays we've got right here. So we're gonna scale the Abyss Actor. The Abyss Actor is gonna summon itself. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. That's job one done. Now you could scale the Wisdom Eye, but there's no need to right now. If you scale the Wisdom Eye, you can search for Duelist Alliance and continue playing for there. But if we keep this in our hand, this gives us further plays should our opponent interrupt us. Now, what you can try and do is you can try and bait out. The only thing you're going to be baiting out with these two is an Ash. Everything else your opponent's going to be able to deal with. So the Imperm is still going to cause you an issue. You're going to normal summon the Harmonizing. You're going to sync these two together. And you're going to go in... Or not sync these two together, sorry. You're going to link these two together. And you're going to go straight into your Crystron Halifibrax. Now, again, another issue with this... Another issue with this is you do have to make sure you've got enough spells in the grave. So eventually, we are going to have to use these two cards. So Halifibrax's effect is going to go off. This is going to give you, straight away from your deck, where are you, is your Tuning Magician. There you go. So that's your Tuning Magician coming down to the board. And then from this point on, before you make your Selene, you've got to make sure you've got 3 spells and traps. Now, obviously, your Pendulum Scales count as spells and traps when they're activated on the field, so you have to make sure they're activated first. So the idea is you're going to activate your Wisdom Eye, you're going to activate your Duelist Alliance because you've got a scale. That is going to get you any other Pendulum card you want. So you could, if you want to, and what would probably be the better option right now, in my opinion, is to go for... Where are you? Because you can either go for the Time Pendulum Graph, not going to get you anywhere. Star Pendulum Graph, definitely going to get you somewhere. Or you go into the Odd Eyes Pendulum Magician. Now, if you were to go into the Odd Eyes, if you were to get the scale, you'd put the scale there, you'd pop this, this would go into Oath Dragon would then get you the Harmonizing back to your hand. So you're pretty much doing the exact same play, but the idea is that your Star Pendulum Graph is going to search it out. So you're going to deck thin 1 additional layer as well. So you're going to activate your Star Pendulum Graph. Now, it does trigger when a Magician Pendulum leaves the main monster zone or Pendulum zones. So you do have to go a little bit further, but we've completed the requirements for Selene. We've got 1, 2, and 3. So then what you're going to do is you're going to link these together, and you're going to go into your first Selene. Now, Selene's effect is going to gain 3 counters, 1, 2, and 3. She's going to use her effect, and she's going to bring back the Tuner Magician. Then what you do is you turn Selene into a Link Cross. I told you, this is nothing new. This is exactly what is on Triff's play. But as we get the combo progressing, you'll see the differences that are in there. Link Cross goes off. Link Cross will give you 3 tokens. 1, 2, and 3. Now from this point on, what you're going to do is you're going to sync with your Tuner Magician, and you're going to go in, use one of the tokens, so we'll get rid of that. And you're going to go into your Formula Synchron, that lets you draw 1 card. Boom. You're then going to use Formula plus 1 token, and go into the broken Metal Marcher. Metal Marcher will then revive a tuner, which will be the Formula Synchron, and you use Formula Synchron plus the final token, and you go into your Cyverse Integrator. You then sync these two together, and you draw, well, you'll technically end up drawing 2 cards, but you draw 1 off of Cyverse Integrator, and you'll draw 1 off of Stardust. Now, this, as you can see that we drew into the Red Eyes, is one downside of it. but you can still use the red eyes to get you further because you can still pendulum summon it. Keep that in mind. We haven't pendulumed yet. All we've done is normal and used one extender, and we've been able to make all these plays. So now all we need to do, Chronograph is an amazing top deck right now because Chronograph, when we get the Magician, will actually let us go even further. Now we still haven't even triggered the Star Pendulum Graph, so keep that in mind as well. We've got the Mighty Master, again gives us an additional extension as well, and so does the Artifact Sanctum. Now what you'd normally do in this kind of play is you would use these two and you'd go into Dagda. Dagda would then let you set the Artifact Scythe. That's the only reason for Dagda. Now that we've drawn the Scythe, we don't even need to do that. So what you're going to do here is you're going to scale the Chronograph, you're going to pop the Chronograph. That is then going to trigger and get you a free extender in the form of Time Gazer. Now what you need to do is you need to get the Time Gazer Magician off of the board. That will then trigger your Star Pendulum Graph, and that will then allow you to complete your scales. So, at this point here, you would normally go to Dagda. We're actually going to skip a step. So rather than going to the Dagda, the reason you'd go into that is purely to get the Scythe. But because we don't need to, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to use all three of these because they're just extendable. They are expendable, and you're going to go into your second Selene. Now again, Selene is going to have the 3 tokens. It is not a hard once per turn, believe it or not. Madness. So she is going to have the ability later on to bring back a spellcast. You don't need to use her effect right now this second. But what that will do is that will allow you to trigger the Star Pendulum Graph. That will then get you any Pendulum Magician you want. Now at this point, like I said, what you're going to kind of want to go for is you're going to want to go for your Double Iris. You're going to scale up your Double Iris. You're then going to use the effect of Wisdom Eye to pop itself to then put the Oath Dragon in the scale. Very important that you get Oath Dragon to be able to take this combo as far forward as you want. Really, really important on that sense. Then what we're going to do from here is you're going to use Oath Dragon's effect. That will then allow you to add Harmonizing back to your hand. Okay, so your hand is looking okay. It's not broken, but it is okay. If we were playing the rank 7 engine, we'd have that on board, but I really am not relying on that. You've got your scales, and because you've got 2 magicians in your scales, remember you actually have the ability to bring back Tuning Magician as well. So you don't need to use all of this right in one go. You've got plenty of time to keep on going, and we still have not pendulum summoned. Keep that in mind. Now, what we want to do from here is you can actually go a little bit further should you want to. It's entirely up to you. We are going to eventually have to pendulum summon, so we are going to pendulum summon now. But what you could do if you did have another spellcaster in the graveyard is you could actually do a lot more than actually pendulum summoning. So the idea is if you had another spellcaster in the graveyard apart from Tuning, you'd use Selene to bring that spellcaster back. You'd then use Tuning to come back, and then that gives you full Bardiche plays. So I'm going to see, I haven't done it this way round, but I'm going to see if we can do it the other way round instead. So, pendulum summon. We're going to pendulum summon the Harmonizing from the hand, going over to the far left. We're then going to bring out the Wisdom Eye. We're then going to bring out the Curtain Raiser. And we're going to bring out... Doesn't really matter which one of these two, to be totally honest. One of those from the deck. We're then going to use the effect of Harmonizing to special summon a Pendulum... Sorry, Magician from the deck. And we're ideally going to go for Celestial, because then Celestial... Celestial is then going to give you a pendulum add in the end phase because you control other pendulums. Is Pendulum the best deck? No, it's not. It's a very good deck, but I think the builds at the moment are still kind of over the place. They don't know where they want to go. Now, from this point on, you've got an option. You can, you have to use a Magician with this one. Now, ideally, you want to go into Savage. If you get Nibiru, you've still got plays to make, but the idea is your Nibiru is going to come a lot earlier than you even get in this point. So, if you are playing against this, save your Nibiru. But you do run the risk that they will eventually just go, you know what, I'm just going to play it safe and go into a negate early on. Now, from this point on, what you can do is you've got the ability for Tornado Dragon there. You've got the ability for either a Borrowed Savage Dragon if you want the negate, or you've got your Time Star Magician as well. So it's up to you which one you kind of want to go for. You can't use these two for Time Star because it does require 2 Magician Pendulum monsters, so you'd have to be very specific. What Time Star will do is Time Star allows your trap to be live, and it also allows you to add a Magician Souls. So again, gives you a bit more consistency. Keep in mind, we have not even used Selene's effect to bring back from the graveyard yet, so you must keep that in mind. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for our negate first. So we'll sync these two together. They can go into the extra deck over there. This will then give us our Borreload Savage Dragon. Now again, it's a bit of a not a disappointment, but a bit of a restriction with this, because in this particular build, because you play so much back row, stacking it up with cards like this can clog you down a little bit. So that's where Magician's Souls does then become important. So we've still got a lot of plays to make, so don't even worry about that. You can make Tornado Dragon as it is generic. That will then allow you to clear out one of your scales. The only downside is we don't have Magician's Souls. So to me, this is actually quite an understandable sacrifice, because what we're going to do is we're going to put a level 4 Magician in the graveyard, and we're going to pop our Double Iris. Double Iris will then go off to give you your Time Pendulum Graft. There we go. So we've got that there. That then also frees up a space for you to start setting more of your back row as well. So you've got a lot to play around with still. Savage, you've got 3 negates. Celine still has her effect to active as well. So if you want to, you can bring back 2 monsters, because technically you can bring back Tuning with her own effect, and you can actually get into another level 8 synchro. So if you didn't want to get into your Savage here, what this could have been, and I'll show you the alternative of what it could have been, is if you didn't use Savage, you leave Celine in the graveyard, you'd actually make your Time Star Magician, oh, hit the camera, with these two here. And then what you'd then be able to do is use Celine's effect to bring back the Wisdom Wire that was detached off of Tornado, and then you use Tuning Magician's effect to bring herself back. Oh, sorry, you would need another Pendulum Magician in there, so ignore that bit. Yeah, so you just wouldn't pop with Tornado. You would leave your Double Iris there, bring back your Tuning Magician, then you'd go wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, use all of these. They can go over there. That will then go into Savage. Savage can then bring back Celine and equip Celine. You'd then use Tornado to pop this to get your Time Pendulum Graph. Now again, one thing that I haven't done, or what you can do, is this one is going to allow you to, of course, get you into a Magician's Souls. Magician's Souls can then technically send the Time Pendulum Graft, Star Pendulum Graft if you want it to get you an additional draw. There's a lot of kind of options that you could have gone from this play right here. So what you can do, this one's going to end on Appaloosa, but you'd use Magician's Souls. You would send from your deck to the graveyard your Mystical Beast Jackal. You could make Herald, yes, if you put Herald in, but then in that scenario, that's very rare. Like, it's very rare that you want to be bringing out the level 3. Ideally, what you want to be doing is you want to be going into your rank 4 plays and your level 8 synchros. So it's very specific to the point where you want to go. So it all depends on what your opponent's playing and judging it around. This is just to show you the variations of where this can end. So then what I would honestly do is I'd use Magician's Souls effect. You could get rid of your scale if you wanted to, but always want to be safer than sorry. So you get rid of your Star Pendulum Graph, you draw 1 card. So Magician's Souls, it's fine, it still just coops up your hand. Now, from this point on, we're going to go for the Appaloosa play. So you just use these two, and you go into Appaloosa. You don't even need to go Appaloosa, to be totally honest. What you could do is you could go Verti Anaconda, because you've got this here, and then Verti Anaconda gives you Red Eyes Fusion plays. The only one you don't want to see is Red Eyes Fusion in your hand. If you get Red Eyes in the hand, absolutely fine. So you've got your options here to either go into Appaloosa. If you're going aggressive, you go Access Code Talker, or you go with the Verti, and that's going to end you on a Red Eyes. So then basically your end board would technically look like this. Your end hand would be this, and then you get to add a Pendulum Magician in the end phase. So then basically, passing to your opponent's turn, you've got 3 cards to discard for this, you've got 3 negate counters on this, you've got Tornado Dragon that can detach to pop Artifact Cipher, which will then summon itself, lock your opponent out of the extra deck, and then you've got Time Star Magician that can then protect, pop in a Magician card to use Time Pendulum Graph. So you've got a lot to play around with right here. So if your opponent wants to go Dark Rule or no more, fine. You can either hold back, but then what you do is you'd shotgun this in the standby phase, bring out the Scythe, lock them out of the extra deck, Dark Rule or no more. You go, okay, so all you've stopped is my protection effect and my 2 negations. You still can't access the extra deck, so if they were to then go, okay, evenly matched, that's when it becomes an issue, but then it's down to you on what you choose to save. Now ultimately, if I was Dark Ruled and then evenly matched on this board, I would keep Dragoons, because my opponent is not going to be able to get a 3,000 attack monster on board without going through the extra deck. So, like, how do they play through this board? I've just told you the 2 best cards that break this board, even a Droplet, and they still can't do that. So, that's a lot to do, and Red Eyes would be in the graveyard because you use Red Eyes Fusion. But you still got 2 cards in your hand, plus the Pendulum you're going to search, which does mean during your next turn, if your opponent magically clears this off, clears his entire board off, you've still got a Magician's Souls and a Mighty Master. So you've still got plays to make to go further on from this point. Now that, of course, was only one test stand, so I will be doing more test stands just to kind of show you, but this is just as... like I'll go a little bit faster as I go through them. And I will explain the other tech that I do play. That gets you basically into the full Rusty Bardiche combo. So this is what I'm saying. So the engines that I've got in the extra deck at the moment is there's a Synchro engine that gets you 3 draws, and then lets you continue your plays. We've then got a Rusty Bardiche engine, which basically gives you more back row protection should you get evenly matched. Should you get Dark Rulered. And then the other option is an additional extension board, which basically allows you to kind of get Rusty Bardiche plus more. Rusty Bardiche, at minimum, Rusty Bardiche and a Verte Anaconda. So, gives you a lot to play with. Now, I understand a lot of people will say, but the Kali Yuga one is better. Ultimately it is, yeah, because it's just Kali Yuga shut off. But if your opponent gets priority because the quick play spell is during the main phase, so your opponent can easily just go, okay, Kaiju. Hey, Episode, how'd it go yesterday? Yeah, it is basically a Swiss Army knife. Episode, what was your score? And can you tell me the rest of the techs that you were playing? I want to know what other techs. Because that, the Ranryu was actually really good. It got me thinking quite a lot last night. I was like, how can I now utilise this to make Dogmaticas more consistent in a Dark Magician deck? Now, in the example you just saw, obviously the biggest downside was that I needed to have a tuner in hand. Like, you need to open up the tuner to get the synchro plays going. But if you don't open up the tuner, which gets you into your additional draws, you still have a lot more to play around with. Now, I'm not saying this is perfect. This deck will brick just as much as any other normal deck would, but it's still very, very powerful. Right, so, again, shuffle, cut, hand of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, not bad. So I've opened up a tuner and an extender. So that's kind of all you need, again, and the full combo gets going. All this does now do, opening up souls, is it means I've got less reliant on a time pendulum graph. Hey, you got second place, that's great. That's really good. So what you're going to do is you're going to use a chronograph, you're going to pop it in the scale, you're going to special summon out your time. Where are you? Time Gazer. And then what you're going to do is you're going to normal summon your tuning. Then of course you pretty much repeat the exact same thing I've just shown you. It just depends on how far you go, depends on what else you draw and the rest of your hand. Now we've already got Oath, so we're one part there. The only downside right now is if we don't draw a higher scale, we're in big trouble. So we're going to sync these together, or if your opponent stops this. If your opponent stops this, you're then relying on Magician's Souls to get you that bit more. The other downside as well is we don't have free spells right now. So, again, you've got to be very, very careful on this. So, Halley Firebrax effect is going to go off. That is going to get you your second Tuning Magician. Wherever she is. Tuning Magician, there we go. Now, obviously, we can't do the Celine play that we did last time. You lost against Monarchs, wow. How did that go? What, was it like, did they just stop you getting to Dragoons, basically? Anyway, so we're kind of right. You don't need to use the first Celine effect because you've got Magician's Soul. So if you can get 2 extenders, then you don't even need to worry about having the free spells. So what you could do is you could Magician's Souls, would send Mighty Master, and then you can scale the Jackal and send the Jackal for a draw. That's entirely up to you. But what we're going to do here is, because we need to... oh, what are you doing over there? You're over there. We do need to get the souls to the board because we do need that extender. So you don't need to use Soul's effect right now, but Soul will then send... actually, you can send Chronograph. You can keep Mighty Master in your deck, it's fine. So then from this point on, exactly the same. You don't even need to use Tuner Magician on this one. You need to keep Tuner Magician free. So you'd use your Souls... and go into pretty much any link free, but we're going to go into Celine. And then exact same thing, you don't even use Celine's effect because you haven't got the free spells, which is fine. Gives you your 3 tokens, okay? 3 tokens and a link cross, and then from this point on, I've already shown you it, so I'm not going to show you again, but basically the way it works is you're going to burn through all of these, you're going to end up going into a formula and draw 1, you're then going to go into a integrator and a metal marcher, they're going to go into charge, and that charge is going to let you draw 1, and metal Cyberse is going to let you draw 1. And there you go, you've seen my little tech of code breakers. So I'll try with this one. I'll try to show you the code breaker combo that goes into Bardetian more. So from this point on, again, link 2. Now, because if you're going first, then your link 2 goes into Dagda. So then from this point, what we've done is we've done a lot of drawing. Now, obviously, the downside is you do need to you needed your scales. So we've done a lot of drawing. You've got your Tuning Magician in the graveyard, or 2 of them at least, which is really, really good. We're then going to activate Law of Darkness. What you could do, instead of going into Dagda as well, is you could hold back until you get an additional monster on board and then go to Celine. So it's really up to you. So we're going to use the Law of Darkness. We're going to draw 2 more cards. Wisdom Eye broken, another Law. Now, to be totally honest, I'm not going to use Jackal. Jackal's kind of a card that I don't really need unless I'm going early. So Sky Striker, Dinos, Paleo Frogs, Dark Magician Mirror, and Domain Monarchs. Damn, that's a great lineup, and you won all of those, man, apart from the Monarchs. Like, that's sick. You can... Codebreaker is a spare card right now, so you can Allure again if you want to. It's entirely up to you. But the idea here is we're going to Oath Dragon, Wisdom Eye. Wisdom Eye's going to pop and get you... Double Iris. Double Iris is technically your go-to high scale because you're going to pop it later on anyway. Now, you can Allure of Darkness again if you want to. That's entirely up to you. But you can also Pendulum something out your Codebreaker. So it really depends on where you want to go from this point. Exactly. So the Codebreaker is sick. Like, it's so cool. So the way it works is once you get the 2 cards together, it's mental. Absolutely mental. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is we're going to Pendulum Summon. So we're going to go Harmonizing from there. We're going to go Wisdom Eyes from there. We'll go the Time Gazer from the extra deck. And then we'll go Codebreaker from the hand. That will then trigger Harmonizing's effect. That will then let us get our Oracle. Celestial. That will then trigger, because we've got Pendulum Monster in the end phase, we get to add a Pendulum Monster. That will then trigger Dagda's effect. Dagda will then set you your Artifact Scythe. So that then goes there. The Law's still in hand. And now from this point, you've got double rank 4 plays, and you've also got your Synchro play if you wanted to bring back your Tuner Magician. So you still have a lot of plays to make. You've got absolutely fine. So what you've got to remember is Harmonizing can only use Magicians. So if you want to tune, you can do. Do we need Tornado? We do need Tornado eventually. So we'll go Time Star. It's not really going to add us anything great, actually. Time Star's only going to protect us. So we'll go Tornado. And then do I want the Savage? I really should go for the Savage, but I'm going to show you a different combo. So what you can do, and I'll explain it now, is you can bring back the Tuner Magician. You can turn this, and that into a Savage Dragon, and then you turn this and this into a Celine. Celine brings back a Spellcaster, which could be the not the Jackal, sorry, which can bring back. I didn't even use Oath Dragon's effect. Can bring something back. Oath Dragon can then use his effect to bring the Celestial back to your hand. You've got a lot of place to move, but I'm going to do something completely different here. Something that you guys might have seen, might not have seen. Now you're going to use Dagda and you're going to use Time Gazer. As long as one of them is a Spellcaster, you're going to go into Celine. Celine is definitely going to have 3 counts. We've got 1, 2, and we've got an Allure of Darkness. We've got our 3 in the graveyard, just. Right? And then what you're going to do here is you're going to use Celestial on your Codebreaker. And you're going to go into your Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. Virus Swordsman's effect is going to trigger. So for those of you who don't know what the Code Breakers do, so 2 effect monsters. When this card is special summoned, if it is co-linked, you can special summon 1 Codebreaker 0 Dawn from your hand, deck, or graveyard to any zone a link monster points to. And then what you're going to do from that is you're going to bring this back. You're then going to link these 2 together, and you're going to go into your Codebreaker Virus Berserker. Exact same effect. If it is co-linked, you get to revive 2. So you get to bring back 2 Codebreakers. So when this card is special summoned, if it is co-linked, you can special summon up to 2 Codebreaker monsters from your hand and or graveyard to any zone a monster points to. So you go, cool, I'm going to bring back my Codebreaker, I'm going to bring back my Codebreaker 0 Day. Absolutely perfect. Still have a spare zone, still have a lore in hand, and from this point on, it is entirely up to you where you want to go. So you have the ability to go into a Link 4. With these ones, you have the ability to go into Verte Anaconda. You've got the ability to pretty much dictate where you want to go from here. But what we are going to do is we are going to go into... if you play this correctly, you're going to end up on a Verte Anaconda, you're going to end up on a Appaloosa and a Bardiche. So any kind of combination works, depending on how you want to do it. Ideally, you want this zone to be Bardiche. So what you can do is you can use Selene plus Codebreaker, and you'd go into your Appaloosa. Appaloosa would have 2 negates. You'd then use your Codebreaker as a Link 1 and your Code Virus as a Link 2, and you'd go into Rusty Bardiche. You can then use Rusty Bardiche's effect. Let's check to use everything correctly. Yep, Rusty Bardiche's effect is going to send the Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak to the graveyard, and that is going to allow you to set your Fogblade. Then what you're going to do is you're going to banish the Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak, and that is going to allow you to get from your deck to your hand your Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. Because you control a Phantom Knight monster, you're going to special summon your Silent Boots. You're going to bring him over here. Now at this point on, again, because you've got 2 Magicians in your Pendulum Zones, you are going to bring back your Tuning Magician. Now if you've got an additional extender, you haven't got to worry about Tuning Magician, but then what you're going to do is you're going to link these 2 together, put that to the graveyard, that there, and you're going to bring out a Verte Anaconda. You're then going to banish the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots, and you're going to add from your deck to your hand a second Fogblade. There we go. Now it's very important you do not put the Fogblade here. Very important. So, what you want to do is you want to be putting a card in a Pendulum Zone that isn't going to be wanting to stay there. So, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is, let me just double check Boots. I'm pretty sure Boots is add it to hand. Yeah, you get it added to your hand. So, what I mean by that is you now need to use Tornado Dragon's effect. Ditch, pop the double iris. That will then allow you to get your Time Pendulum Graft, which is going to give you even more interruption during your opponent's turn. Now what you want to do is you want to make sure that your Fogblade goes in the Pendulum Zone, because this is one that's going to leave the board before Time Pendulum Graft is. So if you want to, you can use Allure first. I'm actually going to hold on to the Allure, I don't need to use it right now. I'm going to set the Time Pendulum Graft. Then use Verte Anaconda's effect, send Dark Magician, send Red Eyes Fusion, send whatever you go into this. This then leaves me a card in hand that I can ditch for the Dragoons as well. Now, past your opponent's turn, again, early doors, Shotgun, Scythe, boom. Opponent is locked out of the extra deck. Your opponent goes, that's fine, Dark Ruler no more. You go, that is also fine. And then they go, battle phase, end of battle phase, and you go, god damn, you fluky. So then you go, that's fine. Now, I would advise keeping a Fogblade. Your opponent cannot go into the extra deck, right? Can't go there. So you're then going to go, right, fine, we'll get rid of all of this. Where's Scythe? Get rid of all of this, that's fine, bash that face down. We'll get rid of these, because the Time Pendulum Grass isn't going to do anything for you. And then you're going to sit on a Fogblade. Now, obviously, it's not ideal, because now you're kind of playing catch-up. But probably be more worried about Dark Ruler No More Game 2. Can I play a Raging and Rank Up? You can play Raging and Rank Up. I've decided not to play it that way, purely because, I mean, it's safer playing the Raging and the Rank Up, because then, like, they can't even you or anything. So, I understand why people want to go that route. But to me, I'm trying to keep this Pendulum Magicians, not Pendulum Odd Eyes. So, that's the only reason that I'm looking at it this way. But yeah, it's entirely up to you if you want to play it another way. Right, I'll do some test downs going second now, so we'll try and attempt to just break boards on OTK, which, to be fair, from that board setup, you can kind of see they have the ability to do that quite easily. Could you play Codebreaker Engine in every deck as a one-card Rusty? No, because the Codebreaker only works if it's co-linked, and then it has to summon to a zone a link monster points to. So the only link monsters that are able to do it are link monsters that point down and left. Down and left bottom or right bottom. And I thought about this a long time ago, but then it was like, if you actually look at it, unless you have the ability to get into a link free, There's no way. Like literally, there is no way. There's so few monsters that actually have the ability to unlock those zones. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, I mean one of the good decks for it is Glad Beasts. But again, you're just running into Nibiru with Glad Beasts. They kind of remind me of Heroes. They do have their own monster negate, which is great. But it takes you a while to get there, and you're very fragile. So let's shuffle this up. And we'll start that in a second. So I'll show you the difference of the 6th card. We'll show you the difference that it makes in the consistency of plays. Obviously, the biggest issue of going second with this deck is you do have a lot to play through, or a lot that you can play through, but even then, it's still very specific. Now, this hand isn't great because we've opened up, most of the Phantom Knights. We haven't got a tuner, so we are going to be going like old school Link Climb. That's probably the biggest issue of this right now. So what we're going to do is obviously you'd scale your Curtain Raiser, that will then special summon itself. Now if you wanted to, you do have the Pendulum Scales if you wanted to go like old school Pendulum Summon, let's go kind of level. Now I'm just trying to think what I've got without a tuner. I've got Dagda, I've got Verte, and I've got IP. So, I mean, to be totally honest, I do have the ability to get Dragoon with a Fog Blade, which is kind of cool. We just need to get like one step more. That's the issue, and I think that's the one thing that's missing. So you'd have to go. You'd have to Magician Souls. Magician Souls is going to send. Let's send Mighty Master. There we go. Now, I'm not really going to Pendulum Summon right now. Like, looking at my entire board, I'm not going to Pendulum Summon. So, what I can do is I could technically scale my Dragon Pit and scale my Oath Dragon and send both, if not one of them, to the grave to try and get an additional draw to unlock this hand. So that is entirely up to you if you want to play that risk. I'm going to play that risk. I'm definitely going to send the Dragon Pit. If I send the Oath, I need another scale, basically. But this... Does this help? This doesn't, like, break it, but it doesn't end it. Yeah, at the moment it's quite high. I think it's like 50 something, maybe like 52-ish. I'll have a look at the end. Now, if I was to take a second one, what would I get? I'll get Harmonising, which is fine because I'd have to scale it anyway and then get an Oath. But if you don't take it, well, if I get this, if I was to get rid of this, I'd have full Synchro combo. So, but to be totally honest, I don't personally think I would. I think I'd probably play this safe and then go to Wisdom Eye. Like, if I was in an actual game state, because then if I don't hit anything, I'm in trouble. That then, of course, because we're going aggression, you don't actually... You could go Double Iris, and Double Iris can just, you know, pop itself if you want to. Oh, actually, I think we've got proper game from here. Like, old school Magician game from here. So it's entirely up to you on where you want to go from this point, actually. We've got... I think we've just unlocked even more potential. I'm just trying to think how best to do this, because technically what you can do is you can Pendulum Summon all of this straight out. Double Iris is going to allow Dragoons to do double battle damage. So, as long as I use that as my last one, I'm kind of good to go. I don't even think I wanted XYZ. I don't think I need to. Yeah, I mean, I don't even need to XYZ. I've got Bardiche plays. I've got... got access code plays. I've got a lot of plays, really. So if we go... If we go these two and go into IP Masquerena, then if we go... Celine doesn't get me anywhere, really. I mean, Celine gives me the full Codebreaker combo. No, it doesn't because I've missed one. I'm just thinking about just not overextending. Like, I just want to finish the opponent off. So it's like, do I need to go far? And I don't think I really need to. Like, from this point, all I need to do is get like another one in the grave. So I just go, okay, cool. Let's use these two here. I don't know. I think I need another extender. Nope, because I haven't normal summoned. I've got it. Sorry, guys. When you're faced with a very interesting or an alternate version, it's very difficult. So you can use those two together. And you go into Access. Access is obviously going to gain 2k. You can then use Access as effect because you've got a light in the dark. It can't be destroyed by card effect because you made it of IP Masquerena. That's going to pop 2 cards. And then what you do from here is use Oath Dragon's effect to add Wisdom Eye back to hand. Normal summon Wisdom Eye because we didn't. If you remember, we Pendulum summoned everything, special summoned Souls and special summoned this. You then link these two together. You then go into Verte. Verte's effect. Send Red Eyes Fusion, Red Eyes and Dark Magician from deck to the grave. Bring out Dragoons. Dragoons effect because it used 2, pop 2. And then use Double Iris effect, targeting... Oh, does it target? Oh, no! It targets! Alright, my bad. I didn't think it targeted. But if this didn't target, what you could do is you technically pop itself, give this double, and then it gets to attack twice. So that would be pretty sick. But regardless, your opponent, like, you've popped 2, burnt 2, you popped 2, like, you should be OTKing from this point on. So yeah. See you later, Roll Trap. We'll definitely have another duel. We'll have to catch up eventually. It's just been absolute madness at the moment. Alright, so I'll do one more test stand. I think my next test stand is going to be Cyber Dragons that I need to kind of look into. Like, Chris played a really interesting one at Locals, like, Friday. So, like, 2 days ago. And it was very interesting. But, like, the issue was the consistency of it. Like, you need to consistently be able to get either a Macabre with Dragoons, or you need to get a Infinity with Dragoons. Obviously, Infinity, in my opinion, is a little bit better because it doesn't require the discard for Macabre, but it's harder to make. So, you know, there's a lot to think about. Anyway, we'll do my last test hand of the Pendulums, just so you can kind of see how this operates. And then we'll kind of go from there. So, it's a very decent shuffle and a good old cut. Oh, hello. Chucking everything over the place. Da 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 da. There we go. Our final hand of 6 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's actually pretty nerdy, not going to lie. You've actually got a lot to use from this point on. So, I mean... Scale the Krona straight away. The Krona. Activate Dauntless Alliance because straight away this is an easy bait out. If your opponent wants to hit it with an Ash, they can do. If they don't, you go, cool, fine, thank you. Star Pendulum Graft because we're going to get Double Iris off of Wisdom Eye. You then get rid of the Chronograph. Chronograph will then give you your time. Of course it would be at the top of the deck. Literally was, the next card. So you then get your time, I'm going to put these into my hand. Ugh. Special summon out the time. And then scale your Oath. Scale Wisdom, pop Wisdom. Get yourself Double Iris. Star goes off. Gives you a Pendulum summon for the future. So pretty much any level 4 Pendulum Magician that you want. It's kind of the idea of what you want to go for, so we'll go with Black Fang. And then what you're going to do from here is you're going to normal summon your Harmonizing. You're going to link these two together. And because Halley Firebrax is a fair card, you use Halley Firebrax's effect. This is going to summon out your Double Iris. Not Double Iris. Tuning Magician. There we go. And then from this point on, you've got enough spells. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gonna link these together. Both go to grave. Go into Celine. Keep in mind, right, all we've done is normal and used one extender. Okay? We still have our scale set up for a pendulum summon. We still have a lore if we want to dig for anything particular. But other than that, we're kind of good. So from this point, you go into Celine. Celine's effect is going to go off to bring back your tuning. And keep in mind, like if your opponent only knows you've got Black Fang in your hand, at this point, to be totally honest, I'd be saving my Nibiru. If I was facing this, I'd be saving my Nibiru for when they pendulum summon. So ideally, what you kind of need to do as the pendulum player is get into a negate before you pendulum summon. That's the ideal kind of scenario. So you then use Celine. Which, to be totally honest, what have we got here? Oath Dragon hasn't added back anything yet. So Oath Dragon can add back your harmonizing. So to be totally honest, right now, like if you wanted to go safe, if you were safe and go for game, you just link these two together, go into not Herald, go into Appaloosa, and then that gives you 2 negates. That gives you 2 forms of stopping an interruption. But we're going to go full combo because we're greedy. Link Cross produces 3 tokens. I've shown you this combo before, but I'll show you it again, but like fast speed. So tuning and a token goes into formula, draw 1. So if they're saving if they're saving the Nibiru for this, they're going to let you draw 3. That's literally what they're going to do. Tune in and a token for Metal Marcher, bring back formula and a token for Cyberse Integrator, and that goes into charge, draw 2, 1 off of Integrator, 1 off of Stardust Charge. Oh no, Red Ice Fusion. Alright, that kind of sucks. That puts us on a bit of a back burner, but is what it is. Now again, this is where Dagda's questionable, because ideally you don't need to use Dagda. So what you can do from this point is you can go into a link free. Celine can use her effect again. So again, if you want to stop, like if you don't want to get hit with a Nibiru, what you can do, because you've got 2 magicians in your zones, you bring back your tuning magician. Let's check that we've got a spellcaster. Ooh, we don't. That's interesting. That changes things. See, if we had the spellcaster, we would be fine, but we don't. Alright, we'll go a different route. So then what you can do is you then use Stardust plus Link Cross, and you go into IP Masquerina. You bring back the Tuning Magician, use IP Masquerina and Tuning, and you go into Bardiche. You then get to... Oh, hello. Tuning gets banished. I don't think we can play through Nibiru on this one. I think I've just gone too much. I've gone a little bit too far. That's disappointing. Yeah, very disappointing. Oh well. But the idea is that we were trying to... I know you can't use this, but I was trying to just get more monsters on the board so that we can try and bait stuff out. But I'll probably have to revert this. Let's reverse this. Let's reverse it to Tuning in the Graveyard. IP back to the extra deck, and our board is Link Cross and Charge. Because obviously, if we get nibbed right now, we technically will lose when we do the Pendulum Summon. So we're going to Pen Summon. We're going to go. So we're going to get rid of these first. Go into a Link 2. Now, your aggressive Link 2 is your defensive Link 2 is Dagda. Your aggressive is IP. So you go IP. You're then going to Pendulum Summon. So you're going to Pendulum Summon Wisdom Eye to one zone. We're going aggression. So we'll go. No, we will go Time Gazer. And then Black Fang and Harmonizing. Harmonizing effect. Go off, bring out... Where are you? Again, next card. Go into Celestial. Celestial will then go off to search you in the end phase. And then from this point on, this is the point that if you get Nibiru, that's kind of it. But if they don't Nibiru you... keep in mind, they'll also still have their full board. So if they do Nibiru, they're going to lose their entire board. So from this point on, you kind of want to go for Savage. You kind of want to make sure your Savage player is going to be safe. Make sure Savage, ideally, needs to be out of the way. So we'd probably put harmonising over here. So then put that there. Savage will then bring back Celine. You can then overlay 2 magicians and go into Tornado. Not Tornado, sorry. Time Star. Time Star can then use his effect, put a spellcaster in the graveyard, and we'll get you Magician's Souls. There we go. Magician's Souls can then go off, sending you a Jackal to the graveyard, or a Mighty Master, doesn't matter which one. Because then the play from here is you'd then go Souls. Oh, Souls can send anything. If you want to draw cards, you can do. So Souls can technically send these 2 cards, considering we've already used them. Draw 2 more cards. And then from this point on, what you can do is you turn these 2 into Celine. Celine's effect, because we've definitely got 3 spells now, can then bring back any pendulum you want, or any spellcast you want. So we're going to bring back Jackal. And then what you can do from here is you can do the full Codebreaker combo. So use these 2. Go into... Now keep in mind, with Virus Breaker, you can actually start popping back row as well. So you'd go Codebreaker Virus, Virus would then special summon out 0 Day. Then use these 2, go into Virus, that then brings you this, brings you this. You then use this effect, pop 2 back row, they probably would have already used it by now. Then use these 2. Because we're going aggression, you go into Code Talker, then use these 2, go into this, effect of this. Doesn't really matter, you're pretty much just using this to set a Fog Blade. So you've got follow-up plays. Not that you should need it, you should pretty much OTK from here. Then going to special summon down this. Can then use Tuning. These 2. Now this is where you go Verti if we didn't draw into the red eyes and then you get a Dragoon onto the board. But because we drew that, you don't have to go to Dagda. But that will give you a Scythe to play through later on anyway. And then from this point on, you're pretty much going to get games. So we've got, what have we got in the graveyard? We've got Darks and Lights. We've got 2 pops off, oh, and a Water. So we've got 3 pops off of Access Code. We've got Bardiche going in for 21, Dagda for 15, 30, yeah, 53 off of this one, 24 off of this one, and then something 25 off of this one. And then you can set a Fog Blade up. You can use a Lure if you want to. So we've got Dragon Pit and Time Pendragraph, so then it's up to you which one you want to set. But from this point on, they're not doing anything. There's nothing they can do. You've popped 3. The only thing that makes this better is Verte into Welcome Back Roll Trap. Verte into Dragoons. That's it. That's all that makes this better. And then if you've got follow up, you're good to go from there. So yeah, that is it. Yeah, so Pendulum Magicians. Like I said, the extra deck is a bit over the place at the moment. There's quite a lot in it. So I still need to cut it down. I've got to decide whether I cut out the Codebreaker engine. I've got to decide if I cut out the Synchro Draw engine, but I really like that Synchro Draw engine. And then I've kind of got to cut out all the other bits as well. So like Dagda, to me, Dagda is a card you take out. It's literally there for Scythe. So I think what it is the code. If you want to use the Codebreakers as additional extension, then you either go for these to make Rusty a little bit more consistent, or you go for this. And then the other question that then remains from that is, technically you don't need IP Masquerena. IP Masquerena can come out. You do need Link Cross. You need Savage. Your draw engine does require this. If you use the Codebreaker, you 100% need 2 Celines. If you don't, you can get by with just 1. You can use this hard summon in it by going into Verti Anaconda, and then Verti Anaconda can turn some of your stuff dark if you want to. That's kind of cool. As long as you don't use Verti Anaconda, you'll be fine, and that can then get you into Dragoons. Some people don't play the Dragoons engine, fine, you take that out, but I still think Dragoons is incredibly powerful. Appaloosa, you only really want it going first, Going second is not too much. Tornado Dragon again is questionable. It is literally only in here to trigger the own Scythe and trigger your own double Iris. So technically, if you're going second, you can take this out because you don't really want to trigger your own stuff, because you only want to trigger that stuff during your opponent's turn or during your turn in order to get an effect off. And if you're going second with double Iris can trigger himself off anyway. So this could then technically, if you wanted to side deck cards, you've got your option to kind of put the code breakers in going. So you have Dagda and Tornado going first, and then you'd put in code breakers going second. So that's one option. You can cut IP out completely. You've got your defensive and your offensive link 4s. You've got your Time Star, which is your only other XYZ. You've got your link 2s in Halley Firebrax, which basically leads into your draw engine, which is all of these cards here. So your Metal Marcher, your Cyberse, and your Stardust Charge. And there you go. And then, of course, you've got your Link Cross, which comes part of that. You definitely need at least one Selene. Savage Dragon is your defender. And then so is really Dragoon. So at the moment you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's your 13. So then your 14, 15 is any combination of these two. So then there isn't enough space for a second Selene and a Bardiche. So that's where you've got to kind of juggle up your ratios. And then you've got the main deck. Now I will be profiling this at a point once I've figured out the ratios, because as you can see the extra deck is so vast, so wide, and in all of those combos you saw me use these, you saw me use these, you saw me use Bardiche, you saw me use a second Selene. So a lot of it dictates your build. Like if you don't play the Fogblade engines, you take this out. And to me, you're either going to be playing this or you're going to be playing this, because you're either going to aim to get Scythe and play through a Dark Ruler that way, or you, and again even Dark Ruler, this is good going first and second. So is this. Like 2 Fogblades is near impossible for your opponent to play through. It's crazy, because then you'd be backing that up with a Savage negate and possibly a Dragoon negate. So there's a lot to work on, a lot. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this live stream. I will be back on hopefully next weekend, if not sooner, to bring you like a Cyber Dragon build. And we do of course have Rage of Ra coming out during this week as well, and on top of that we'll have a Winged Dragon of Ra profile, a Jinzo profile, and a Mech Lord profile. So we'll be showing you what those decks can do. Oh, there you go. And then kind of go from there. But thank you so much to every single one of you watching. Thank you so much for every single one of you that have subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, please smash that subscribe button. I would love to be hitting 16,000 subscribers before the end of the month. We're only like 190 away, so it'll be great if you could share us around and help us hit that goal. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Until next time guys, as absolutely always, stay safe and happy dueling.